Wednesday, September 7th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. I'm meteorologist Matthew East. A lot to talk about here. We have the remnants of Lee gradually pulling out of our region. Some nice weather coming up, but the tropics, just a ton of ground to cover in the tropics. And some of the tropical weather could play a role in our weather here down the road, too. Let's start off with a look at the radar this morning. And drier air has made it about as far east as just west of Raleigh and Fayetteville. Places like Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Charlotte, the foothills, the mountains, into some cooler, drier air. But in the more muggy area, you still have some showers and storms to contend with. And the big area of heavy rain with this system is shifted up into the northeastern part of the country, especially Pennsylvania, and then on up through New York State. In other spots of the northeast, a lot of flood products in effect up that way. But behind this system, the cooler, drier air has taken hold. There are some spots in Mississippi in the 40s this morning. It is pretty early in the season for that. And we were very nice as we started our day here across the upstate and a good chunk of the Piedmont, a lot of 60s, although there was some patchy fog in some spots this morning. An active day yesterday, a lot of warnings. A couple of tornado reports came in from Alamance County, some scattered wind damage reports elsewhere. But again, that system is pulling on out. Big upper low, that's really what's left of Lee. Had a trough come in and absorb that tropical system, and it's turned into a big closed upper low that's slowly pulling away. Now that's Katia out in the Atlantic Ocean. Let's go ahead in time here. This is the European valid out Saturday morning. Katia's gone by that point in time, but we're watching what's happening down in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, let's get into it here on the GFS. And again, this system you see in the Atlantic, that's Katia. It'll curve north and east before impacting the U.S. For much of the Piedmont today, the Interstate 85 corridor over to roughly close to I-95. Should be a mainly dry day. Highs upper 70s to around 80. Pretty nice stuff. Tomorrow, some low 80s for highs with a partly cloudy sky. As we get into the day Friday, low to mid 80s. Over the weekend, we're looking at 80s for highs, probably mid 80s there on Saturday and Sunday. Now thereafter, as we get into Monday and Tuesday, a lot will depend on what happens with that disturbance in the Gulf of Mexico. The GFS is one of the models that keeps this way south. So this is what Monday looks like on the GFS, and there's Tuesday on the GFS. Finally, a cold front begins to approach on Wednesday, but it is a much, much different scenario on some of the other modeling. Hang on, I'll show you that in a second. There's the broad overview of the tropics. We have Katia, which is making that turn to the north and east, and there's Tropical Depression 14. This will probably become Maria today. And we also have this area down in the Bay of Campeche to keep a watch on. The easy one first, this is Katia. And this is, again, continuing to make that turn to the north and northeast as expected. Now this will split the difference between Bermuda and the east coast of the U.S., just bringing some heavy surf to both. So that's taking a good track and really doing the best job it can of avoiding land altogether. Now down to the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, this front move in, a little piece of energy left behind over these very warm waters in the Bay of Campeche. And the question is, will this get drawn north or will it get pushed west into Mexico? Both are viable options. This is Tropical Invest 96L. Recon plane will head into this system when necessary to check out what's going on. You can see the difference in the model forecast charts here. Again, remember, the GFS is one of the models that kept this down toward Mexico. But here's the Canadian. This is valid Sunday midday, and it's bringing this as a pretty significant tropical system to the Florida Panhandle. The European, a little slower with this. This is Monday, bringing it to the Louisiana coast. Now, again, I mentioned the GFS keeps this south. However, here's the plots of the various GFS ensemble members. And notice a lot of those ensemble members pull this up to the north, like the Canadian and the European. So I would lean my forecast in that direction, but I'm not sold on it yet. But I would lean toward this probably heading to the central Gulf Coast at this point. Now, what about Tropical Depression 14? There's a satellite shot this morning. Again, this is on the verge of getting classified as Maria. There's the computer model guidance chart. It's fairly good agreement, although there are some fairly significant speed differences in terms of how quickly this system moves to the west-northwest. There's the Hurricane Center forecast. They have it as a hurricane just near the eastern Bahamas in the pre-dawn hours Monday morning. Some of the select model charts on this. This is a GFDL. That's an ominous look there with a strong hurricane in the Bahamas. The Canadian, though, recurves this. The closest it gets is a good bit east of the Outer Banks. And the European brings it pretty close to the Outer Banks by Thursday of next week. So, I don't know. This could be an East Coast threat for sure. This might recurve, but I'm not ready to say that's going to happen yet. We're going to need to closely watch that for interest up and down the eastern seaboard here. Maria could be an issue down the road, but maybe we can get that to stay out to sea, but I can't say that with any confidence yet. All right, that is it for today. Thanks for watching. Have a great Wednesday, and God bless.